Okay, let's start our look at Dust in the Wind by Kansas by taking a look at the intro here. Now, the first thing we need to do is really get this picking pattern down because it's continuous throughout the entire song. So if you get this down, everything else is just kind of following the chord changes. So it's pretty simple after that. So this is a little bit of Travis picking. Now what that means is basically your thumb is going to be going across from the 5th to the 4th, 5th to the 4th. You may see people play this with just 4 fingers, but the true way to play it and the way they play it and the way this style is supposed to be played is your thumb is taking care of both of those notes, those 2 lower bass notes. So let's get the pattern down. We're going to start here just in the right hand. We're going to have your middle finger is going to play the 2nd string and your thumb is going to hit the 5th string. And you're going to play those 2 together. So I'm going to play a little C chord down here and do that. Alright, then we're going to take your thumb over to the 4th string. So that's how the thumb moves from the 5th to the 4th. Pick the 4th string and then the 3rd string with your 1st finger. So we have... Then we're basically going to do the same thing again, except instead of hitting the 5th and 2nd string at the same time, you're going to hit the 5th string first, then the 2nd string. Then you're going to do the same thing you did on the 2 middle strings before by picking the 4th and then the 3rd. Now watch the thumb when I play this little section. See how it's just going back and forth between the 5th and 4th string? That's what Travis picking is. It keeps this constant rhythmic bass going. And while the other fingers take care of the melody and the harmony. So all together it's just 5 and 2 together, then the 4th string and 3rd, then the 5 and 2 separate, and then the 4th and 3rd string. That is the whole pattern. So I recommend practicing that pattern and getting it smooth and getting it just kind of natural so you can just feel it without thinking about it too much before you tackle all the chords in the song. And then you pretty much have, this is most of just the whole song uses this pattern, so it's really good to have it down before you start tackling the left hand. Alright, so let's talk about the left hand now in the intro. This is going to be based around 2 chords, a C major chord and an A minor chord. If you don't know those chords, it's 3rd string, 3rd finger, 3rd fret on the 5th, 2nd finger, 2nd fret on the 4th, and then 1st finger is going to be at the 2nd string on the 1st fret. And the 3rd and the 1st strings get to ring open. You don't pick the 6th string. Then the A minor is the exact same thing, except pick up your 3rd finger and move it to the 2nd fret on the 3rd string. And then exact same thing. Alright, so this whole intro is just based around those 2 chords with a melody note on top of each one. Now, here's all you need to think about this melody note that we're going to be doing. You need to think 3, 1, 0, 3. Okay? Basically, it always goes in that order. The melody note, if you're playing a 1 in the melody note, you'll understand what I mean in a second, the next melody note will be a 0. And if you're playing a 0, that means the next melody note will always be a 3. And if you're playing a 3, the next melody note will always be a 1. And then you just keep going around. 1, 0, 3, 1, 0, 3, 1, 0. Okay? So what does that mean? We're going to have C major, and then A minor, then C major, and A minor again. And we're going to have... each one of these chords gets 4 melody notes. And now what I mean by the 1, 0, 3, 1 is the notes that are happening, the frets on the 2nd string are the ones that are changing. Okay, so let me explain. On this C major, the first time we start playing this chord, we play, the 1st finger is at, on the 2nd string you're playing the 1st fret, so that's a 1. So I play that picking pattern once with that melody note on top of the chord. Then I'm going to, from 1 we have to do a 0, right? 0 is the next number. So just pick up that 1 and make it a 0 on the 2nd string. Now do the picking pattern on that, with that note being on top. On top, I'm meaning like the highest pitched note. And then, what comes after 0? 3. So now you're going to play 3 on the 2nd string and do the picking pattern once on that melody note. And then after 3 is 1 again. So that was 4 melody notes, okay? Just in that 3, 1, 0, 3, 1, 0 order. That is all we're going to do, and we did that pattern once for every melody note. The same picking pattern every time. Alright? Now, we did 4 melody notes, now we're going to switch to the A minor chord, but we just played a 1 as being our last melody note, right? For that C. So we know we needed to be a 0 now. And we're going to go on this chord, we're going to go 4 melody notes on this one, so we're starting on 0. Same picking pattern. And then the 3, then then the 1, and the 0. So that was 4 melody notes on the A minor. Now we're going to go back to the C. Since our last melody note was a 0, it's going to be 3 now. So we're going to start this C chord now with a 3 on top. Picking pattern once, then the 1, then a 0, to 3. So there's those 4 melody notes, and then we're going to finish it up with back to the A minor. We just ended with 3, so it's going to be starting A minor with 1 on top, 0, 3, 1. Now, on this very last time, when we get back to the 1, after we did the 1, 0, 3, 1, the very last time we play it, we're going to play only half of the picking pattern. Just that much of it. Okay, with the 2 outside strings together, and then the 4 and 3. And then we're going to do this. And that is going to be the 5th and 2nd string hit together again with your first finger at the 1st fret and the 5th string open. And then we're going to hit the 5th and 2nd string again, but this time the 5th string is going to be the 2nd fret with your 2nd finger, and your pinky is going to grab the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. So it goes. Okay? And that takes us into the verse. All right? So that's the whole intro. It's just around 2 chords with just different melody notes at the same picking pattern. Now the verse is going to be very similar. It's going to use the same picking pattern. However, we're going to kind of change the strings we do the picking pattern on from time to time. So let's start this. It starts with the basic C major chord. Real quick, let me play the verse. Sorry. Okay, so it starts with a C major chord. Play the picking pattern once on that. And then we're going to switch to, this is when the vocals came in, by the way, so this is the verse of the song. We have the 2nd string on the 2nd fret, on the 5th string, and then the 3rd fret on the 2nd string, same picking pattern. And then we're going to take it down to an A minor chord. This is going to be a little different. Same picking pattern, really, except the 2 outside strings are going to be the 5th string and the 1st string. So, you can hit this with your ring finger if you like. That's kind of what I do. I just come up there so I can keep these fingers kind of, consistent. But we have the ring finger on the 1st string and then the thumb on the 5th. And then continue the pattern like normal. So that pattern is actually going to be done twice on that chord. So we're actually going to play it twice, except for the very first time, the very first hit on the chord, it's going to be this 1st string ringing out on top instead of the 2nd. And then the 2nd time you play the pattern, you're going to keep it the old way. So it's like this. And try to keep that open string ringing as much as you can. So far we have this. So the picking pattern was done once on the C, once on this G in first inversion, and then twice on the A minor. Okay? Then we're going to come over to this G. Now, the only thing that's going to be different about this is the thumb is the exact same picking pattern that we did before, except instead of the thumb being on the 5th string, it's going to be on the 6th string. You're going to take your 3rd finger and place it at the 3rd fret on the 6th string, and the open strings that we're going to be using are the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings, all open. So it's just basically moving this thumb down to the 6th string. So now it has to go from the 6th to the 4th, 6th, 4th, like this. All right, yeah, this should be pretty easy to understand. All right, so besides that very first, it's the exact same pattern on the same strings except for the thumb. All right, then when we come to this this next chord here, which is going to be a D7 chord, D minor 7 chord, and now we're going to basically move the picking pattern to the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. So it's going to kind of stay the same as it was before. Before we were doing it on these 4 middle strings, and now we're just going to do it on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. So it doesn't have to change anything. We're coming around and we're holding this D7 chord, which is a bar across the 1st fret on the 2nd and 1st strings, and then your 2nd finger is going to play the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and the 4th string is going to be open, and that's where our thumb's going to be. And now we're basically hitting the 4th string and the 1st string together to start, and then the 2nd and 3rd string, and then continue the pattern on those strings. So we get this. And And then we come down to an A minor again. And we're going to play the A minor the same way we did just a minute ago, which is we're going to play the pattern twice on it. And the first string is going to ring out the first time though. So the first string should be hit first, and then continue the pattern. The first string with the fifth string, I mean. And continue the pattern. Now, the second time of playing the pattern, we're going to do, once again, we're going to cut it off halfway through it to do that little that we did earlier in the song at the end of the intro. So we got this for when we get to the A minor chord. So the whole verse, that's C, pattern once in the G, down to the, and then you're going to do all of that again. Alright, so that verse part is played twice through, and then you're on to the chorus. So stay tuned for the next video for that. Thanks.
Guitar giveaway channel, guitar lessons and tutorials. Please subscribe.